Okay, everyone. Welcome to practice. Um, and welcome especially to those of you who are new to practice. So feel free to go ahead and just introduce yourself, particularly if you're new. Just introduce yourself and where you're coming in from and what have you. And then later we'll post our prayer requests in the box as well. So welcome. It's good to see Eric. It's good to see you and Sarah. Yeah. So go ahead and say hello. I'm Lama Rod. I am on Creek, Muskogee, Cherokee land. I'm here in Atlanta, the ATL. So, I was going to do something a little different tonight. I want to do it. I had something. I had something new that I was going to offer everyone in our practice, but I have to. I'll just save it for next week. It'll be fine. Um, but I have a new mantra to add to the practice, but I didn't. I totally forgot to get it ready. To get the translation and everything together today so I could post it up for everyone. We'll do it next week. Be fine. Anyway, welcome, everyone. And you can put prayer requests up anytime as well. So also feel free to check in as well. Just let me know how you're doing. It's been such a it's been a busy week, I know, for a lot of us. So I would love to know how everyone's doing, what people need tonight as well before we begin our practice. And any questions, go into the ask a question. So try not to put the questions in the chat because I may miss it. But if they're in the ask a question box, and then it just collects them. Um, and they'll be ready when it's time for questions and so forth. Are there any questions actually? And I'm thinking about it. Are there any questions that some of you may have that could help your practice tonight? Or wherever people are. I know it's afternoon in some places. If you're in Australia, I know it's early in the morning there, and I don't think we have many folks in the UK, as I am well aware that this practice happens at midnight in the UK, since I was doing it at midnight when I was in the UK. Yeah, so any questions, anything? We have a few minutes. It takes wait a few minutes before people get in. Of course, the longer we wait, the more likely it is that I start giving a Dharma talk on the matrix. So, been really good for a while now. Well over a month, I have not mentioned the matrix, nor have I done a 2-hour talk on the matrix. So I think that's really good progress there. As you know, it's just a big old rabbit hole for me. I'm just burning incense. It's different incense. I like, and it's one of my pleasures just to burn stuff, to burn incense. So yeah. Though I've been told I need to go and see Michelle Yeoh's new movie, which I always forget the name. I just call it Michelle Yeoh's movie. Everything, everywhere, everyone, everything, everybody, something, something, everywhere. All the things everywhere. Everything is everything. I don't know, but it's Michelle Yeoh's movie, which I'm gonna go see eventually. And stuff. Thanks. Welcome. Yeah. Anyone else want to check in? Everything, everywhere at once. Yes, everything, everywhere at once, which is exactly what's happening. Everything's happening all at once at the same time, and that's what we're trying to. Well, we're not trying to practice to get to that realization. We're practicing to understand the clarity of the mind, to embody the clarity of the mind. But so much of this, the reality of the mind is that the mind is boundless, it's nonlinear, it's much more dynamic than what we could possibly experience, particularly in because particularly in a place or in a state where we're still kind of buying into the realness and the solidity of everything. You know, over time, the practice begins to evolve into this kind of deep experience of spaciousness and this openness. And so what I call the fruition of Mahamudra, which is the realization that understanding realization that the nature of everything is essentially liberated. The nature of liberation is space, emptiness, openness, fluidity, the essence of everything. It's just naturally free, right? I think that's incredibly important for us to be practicing right now because it doesn't feel free. The world of form, the physical world seems quite limited, quite bounding and heavy and static and overwhelming. And that's not the case. The world of form is just smoke and mirrors, this illusion that's rising, and we feed into the illusion because we're so devoted to the illusion of everything. Everything seems so real, and because it feels so real, we have this intense devotion to the realness of everything. And our liberation is about beginning to realize the illusion, the dream. So if you're just joining us, welcome. Please, any questions, go into ask a question, introduce yourself, and add any prayer requests as well. Let's see, Rachel offering prayers for knee surgery. We'll be praying for knee surgery as well. So if you're just joining, coming into the space, please introduce yourself. Any prayer requests can go into the chat box. Any questions can go into ask a question. If there's any question that would be good for you to get an answer to for practice, please go ahead and do that now. If not, I can just wait till later to answer those questions. Um, we have a couple more minutes as people kind of get into the space. Um, it's always, I enjoy, just kind of burning incense and things like that, because it's really a fire puja. This is actually a fire prayer. This is Palo Santos. I have some cone incense here in my peacock incense burner. It's a fire puja, right? It's a smoke offering as well, and you're just, as you burn, like I know some of you burn incense. As you're burning incense, you can imagine just offering, the sweetness, the sweet smell of the incense to any manner of being, any formless being. Sometimes I think about um, Dimavati Ma, the expression of the mother who is um, associated with smoke, but really she is the mother or the manifestation of the energy that actually sits within experiences of grief and loneliness and isolation. She's depicted as um, as it is said in the commentaries around her, that she is the crone or the widow, which are archetypes, right? Um, and she's not, in iconography, many of the mothers, I'm talking more like in the Vedic, South Asian practice, tradition, pantheon. She's depicted. She's the one of the rare mothers who's depicted in a human form, but is depicted as being, um, very aged, um, as if she's mourning, right? Which is the kind of foundation of her manifestation. She's the mother that holds us in our grief, and our sadness, and our loneliness, and she's been an energy that I've been practicing with for years. Mama Justin and I were, in India at the beginning of the pandemic. Um, just like roaming around India, um, worshiping and praying and practicing at all these temples, Chinnamasta, Tara, Dumavati, Kali, um, and and I, on that trip, I really developed a really close relationship with Dumavati, and she's pretty much heavily featured in the new book, in New Saints. In New Saints, I talk a lot about deities. I talk about God. I talk about God as the mother, or the mother as God. I talk about, the ways in which enlightened conscious energies arise in ways that are beneficial for us. Um, and as I've said often before, there are these wisdom deities that arise out of um, the essence of reality itself. And then there are worldly deities who are not wisdom deities that arise out of like the nature of things themselves, but they're actual beings like us with egos who manifest in a different plane of existence that is still connected to this world, and they have these kind of advanced powers. And of course, the issue there is that there's still an ego with them. So, um, Some of them, and so if there's an ego, there's a personality there. As we talked about, for those of you who are with me, for consuming the world, of course, um, that the storehouse consciousness holds these seeds of personality, right? And that's related to the ego. So these beings, are vibrating on a really high level, right? Because they've achieved these different levels of consciousness, but there's still experiences of ego as they're interacting with us. So, but those worldly beings who are trying to do virtuous things and good things and trying to benefit and help will align themselves with the wisdom deities that just arise out of wisdom itself, out of the nature. As we would say in Vajrayana, they arise out of the Dharmakaya, the experience of emptiness. And they will ally themselves and work on the behalf of the wisdom deity. So as we talked about in the Medicine Buddha, when we go into the practice of Medicine Buddha, we're not only just connecting to the awakened consciousness of Medicine Buddha, we're also connecting to the energies around Medicine Buddha, which I would say, if you're familiar with Vajrayana philosophy, I would call those worldly deities that align themselves with wisdom deities. I call them the retinue. The retinue. I don't have any pictures right now that would demonstrate that. I have them all over the place, but I can't quite get up right now and do that. So when we talk about retinues with Buddhas, the retinues are worldly beings, worldly deities that have allied with these Buddhas. And so when we find ourselves practicing again with Medicine Buddha, we're calling in all the beings who have allied themselves with Medicine Buddha to bring about Medicine Buddha's intent, which is to heal. So we're connecting to a lot of different kinds of energies. Some of those energies are really quite personal to us. They're part of our personal retinue, our guides. They're beings, their plant consciousness, their animal consciousness. We don't talk a lot about animal medicine as much as we talk about plant medicine. Animal medicine is a little bit, it's a little different than plant medicine, working with plant medicine, but also really quite similar. But anyway, animal and plant consciousness arises as allies with awakened Buddhas, who are also arising out of the Dharmakaya, the experience of emptiness. So anyway, coming back to incense, burning them and just offering, to these beings. We talk about healing in this space. We offer incense to the healing, to our healing, to the healing of those around us, to the healing of the world. That, as you offer incense, you are imagining that the whole world is being cleansed of negative toxic energy through the smoke. Right? And you can imagine that Dumavati Ma, the mother Dumavati, rises from the stick of incense. Our book is called Santos, but this incense. One thing that I like to do one thing that I like to imagine is that the smoke, is carrying, uh, in this case, like my sadness or my sorrow, like out. So it's like I feel like the smoke is like rising from my body as an offering of my sadness, and I dedicate it to these enlightened, awakened consciousness, you know, because my suffering is the same nature of an awakened Buddha, right? Everything is everything, as Lauren Hill taught us, right? So the nature of my sadness is also the nature, essentially, of God, right? So as I offer my sadness, all I'm doing is offering emptiness back to emptiness, which in Tantric Vajrayana is the ultimate offering, like offering emptiness back to emptiness. Another little trick practice that I do is that when I feel overwhelmed, by something that's happening in the world, I just imagine I'm offering my overwhelm back to the mother. I have this teaching, um, like my personal teaching, that says everything to the mother, everything to the mother, which is something that I began to learn from my Swami, Swami Jayadevi, um, about how we deepen our relationship to the deity by just offering everything to the deity. Offering everything to this manifestation of the mother, which is an expression of God, right? Which is an expression of our Buddha nature, and so forth. So everything to the mother. When we feel overwhelmed, everything to the mother, everything to the deity, everything to medicine Buddha. So for those of you who are moving into surgeries, and treatments, um, particularly, I know for Rachel, but I know there are other people, when you're going into surgery this week, tomorrow, just thinking everything to the mother, everything to medicine Buddha. And imagine just offering all the stuff that you're struggling with, the anxiety, the fear, the worry, right? The sadness, right? You just offer it. And that's something I really want us to get into the habit of. It's just offering. Like I'm letting go of this burden, all the anxiety, all the worry. I'm just going to offer it to the deity, right? I'm just going to offer it, everything to the mother. And there's a trust that begins to develop. There's a trust, a devotion, actually, that begins to awaken for us. And I know that is difficult for so many of us. This work of devotion and letting go, and like it's really hard for us because for many of us, we've begun to self-identify with the suffering to such an extent that we don't even know who we are if we're not uncomfortable. We don't know who we are if we're not sad. We don't know who we are if we're not struggling. Like, who am I if I don't feel like shit? Like everything to the mother. Everything to medicine Buddha. So I'm not looking at Shelley's question here. Um, I just got another comment. Everything, offer everything, she says. It doesn't matter what you offer, it matters that you offer. Yeah, because when we offer to the deities, particularly the awakened deities, the wisdom was like, again, what I call the wisdom deities, those deities who arise out of emptiness itself. Um, what they see, they don't, because they're not egoistic beings like we are, because they're not bound within dualistic thinking, when we offer our suffering, they don't see it as suffering, nor do they experience suffering. They just experience the emptiness because that's what they see. It's what they experience is the emptiness. So just offering it back to the emptiness, yeah, it's how we create this karmic link to the deities, but it's also how we begin to train in the essence of Dharmakaya itself. When we say the nature of my suffering is emptiness, when I offer the suffering back to the deity, I'm only offering emptiness back to emptiness. You know, it's like offering water back to the ocean, right? Offering water back to the ocean. There's this tremendous trust that can arise in that, but I know it takes time. As I've talked about in the past before, I've had, when I started taking this practice, medicine Buddha, seriously, it was during a time in my retreat where I got seriously hurt and really needed to go to the hospital, to the emergency room, but I refused to leave. Actually, during the time when that happened, I was in complete silence as well. So I couldn't even talk because we have a doctor and a nurse practitioner. But now I was going to retreat, so we had like professionals coming in to help us to support us, our health, um, which is quite progressive for a 3-year retreat. Um, but I remember our nurse practitioner who ended up coming to see me and was like trying to have this conversation with me. And he already, he knows, he already knew what was up, as the retreat nurse. So he knew I wasn't talking. Uh, and, he was like, well, you should really go to the emergency room. And, when I went into retreat, I vowed not to leave retreat. I actually said the only way I was going to leave retreat was for my funeral. So if I died in retreat, that's the only way I would leave. You have to understand how intense I am about this shit. I was like, there's no way I'm leaving until this is over. I don't care if like I get infected, So I cut myself really badly, and so some antibiotics were given, and the nurse was like, "We'll see what happens." Right. And I just prayed. I just prayed and practiced perpetually into medicine Buddha for healing, and it works. Was it going to work if I didn't pray? I don't know. Who knows? Um, but regardless, I challenged myself to really develop this deep devotion to medicine Buddha, which was the first deity that I'd done this with. And it really was quite transformative. And of course, that was one thing. And then a couple of years afterwards, it became Tara. Particularly during the Ferguson uprising and Michael Brown. Like Tara came back really strongly. And I started developing a deep relationship to Tara, and the Tara opened up the door to wanting to experience the mother, right, which led me into a mother lineage with my Swami, and just getting deeper into Vedic practices. Um, and I have like a very strong relationship um, to deities. Which again has been quite transformative for me. So I wonder tonight or today, again, we're all in different time zones. I wonder if we can practice offering everything to the experience of Medicine Buddha. Now, you can always go back to imagining, visualizing the form of Medicine Buddha as well. And if you need just like a representation of Medicine Buddha, you can just quickly Google Medicine Buddha. You'll find an image of Medicine Buddha in blue and robes, holding a bowl and a plant as well. So you can imagine Medicine Buddha. Of course, we practice imagining Medicine Buddha as the archetypal healer. So when you think about the supreme awakened healer, what do you think about? Who comes to mind? We may do that too, like just have a moment or two just for us to allow the healer to arise for us. And I really love this stuff. I love just like sitting in meditation and just asking for something to arise. I mean, that's real powerful magic that often goes overlooked. But when you really set up a practice and allowing whatever to arise that needs to arise in your practice, right? And of course, you create the proper boundaries, you know, um, and within that protected boundary, allowing the energy or an image of something that's for your benefit to arise is actually quite powerful. We have to trust ourselves to allow that to happen, right? And so for those of you who are going into some health challenges and treatments and operations, particularly for you, Rachel, and everyone else, I want you to be praying for your healers, for your healing guides, right? To be with you, right? To support you, to protect you, to heal you. And what we'll also do in our practice is just allowing the energy to kind of move to where it needs to go. We did this last week at the end, just allowing this energy just to go into the places it needs to go. Right? So letting go of directing and allowing. So let's just prepare to get started. And I'll come back, Shelley. I'll come back at the end and look at your question. This seems to be a little off, this little desk here. I think I want to, is that right? I don't know. Now I'm going to mess up everything. Okay, that's good. I think that's better. I think that's a better image. A little picture there. Okay. Any prayer requests, go ahead and add those to the chat box. So just to begin with, and this is really how I practice with some of the instructions that I just offered, is that like at any time, I just stop and I connect to this awakened conscious energy. Um, and I connect to the energy of any number of energies, like be it God, be it the Mother, be it Dimavati, be it Kali, be it Tara, Medicine Buddha, the consciousness of my teachers. Um, when I just stop, I just say, okay, who do I feel closest to right now? And I just kind of naturally find myself in alignment with an energy. So right now, I'm choosing Medicine Buddha. I just say that, I just tell myself, okay, I am feeling aligned with the consciousness of Medicine Buddha. And I know some of you are new to this, but I'm just like, this isn't the practice. This is just kind of like an experiment before we get into practice. So just sitting. And this is just allowing awareness to blossom. So awareness meaning that we're just beginning to become just slightly aware of everything. So we're not focusing on anything, but just allowing everything to be held by the energy of our awareness. And so you're not fixating on anything, you're not attaching yourself to anything. Of course, sometimes this is how I imagine the ocean like mind practice, where I just imagine that my mind is just like a vast ocean and how that ocean is just holding everything beneath it and in it, rather. And the deity is just here, like awakened consciousness, God, the Mother. All this energy is just here. We only need to open into awareness to hold everything, and that's where we meet this energy, this consciousness. And can you, or what can you experience? What are you experiencing? What are you feeling? Like what's coming up? Whatever is coming up has already been there, by the way. And for me, this can be the totality of my practice in a session, just sitting, opening into awareness, touching into the nature of things, touching into God or Medicine Buddha. Maybe in this openness, you begin to imagine like all the beings who love you, who care for you. It's like they slowly begin to populate, appear, arise within the space around you. What do you feel like here? What are you noticing? And it's okay if you're not noticing anything, but just maintaining awareness. So much of this experience is quite subtle. And if you've began to imagine beings surrounding you, beings who love you, who are protecting you around you, go ahead and begin to imagine that they begin to radiate the energy of care. And again, the energy of care can be sparked by imagining the last time you experienced care, maybe in the form of being loved or in the form of compassion or kindness. The last time you felt that, and it can be from any being, it can be from a pet, from a person, or whomever. And so that's the energy that you're going to be imagining that's radiating from your benefactors around you. It begins to fill up the space around you. And this is a point where we just allow ourselves to be held by this energy. And again, this is a complete practice. Just sitting and being bathed by this energy of care. So I want to move into uh, our opening mantra. So it's Om Mene Sangha, Om Minla Sangye Kino. Um, Om Minla Sangye Kino Soha, which means, Medicine Buddha, please think of me, please know me And again, the word kino is often translated as to think of. It's a high form of the word to think. But I encourage you to to use a word that you need to use right now in terms of evoking the consciousness of Medicine Buddha. What do you need for Medicine Buddha or Minla Sangye? Minla means medicine, Sangye means purification or the purified one, which is what Buddha means, one who has been purified. What do you need from Medicine Buddha? You need to be healed by Medicine Buddha. You need Medicine Buddha to hold you. You need Medicine Buddha just to think of you, to remember you. So, O Menla Sangye Kino. Soha, O Menla Sangye Kino. Soha. And this is also a mantra of calling out to the awakened consciousness of Medicine Buddha. Medicine Buddha's awakened consciousness is the same awakened consciousness of all awakened beings, of all Buddhas and deities, like who have transcended the dualism of ego and self. There is only one great consciousness, right? And all of our consciousness, we are expressions of that great consciousness. And there are those consciousness who have realized that they are only emanations of a greater awakened consciousness, and we call them Buddhas or awakened. And then for the rest of us, normal, regular beings, we are in the process of remembering that we are only expressions of enlightenment itself. And so when we chant a mantra like the one we're about to chant now, Mona Sangye Kino Soha, we are just praying, actually. It's both a calling, but Medicine Buddha is also a prayer, trying to awaken, trying to stir up our awakened nature so we can begin to experience it and reconnect to it. We're trying to go back home to the awakening instead of continuously moving in to the delusion and the separation. And so we began the mantra, Om Namah Sangye Kino. So how we're chanting it a couple of times. Okay. Om Namah Sangye Kino. So 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 Om Namah Sangye Kino. So, just imagining that the consciousness of Medicine Buddha arises around you. That even the quality of energy in the space around you changes. And then all the care that you've been experiencing being radiated from your benefactors, that all your benefactors now become expressions of this one awakened consciousness, which is Medicine Buddha. So this care is much more deeply attuned towards healing and balance and support. So I want to offer two sets of instructions as we move deeper into the practice. The first set of instructions for those of us who are not working with the breath. And I encourage you just to begin to imagine that your body begins to absorb the energy of care around you, which is now an expression of Medicine Buddha's consciousness. And for those of you who are working with breath, I want you to bring your attention to the heart center. And if if you want, you can bring a hand up to the heart center. Moving deeper into the breath, I encourage you or invite you to imagine that you begin to breathe in and out of the heart center. And so as we continue inhaling into the heart center, I want you to imagine now that you're inhaling this energy of care, or really the expression of Medicine Buddha, into the heart center. And when we breathe into the heart center, when we inhale into the heart center, inhaling right into the center of the heart chakra, and holding the breath in the heart center. And we want to intensify this energy, which is, we're working with prana, right? So intensifying prana, or life force energy, in the heart center. And this is going to awaken the heart center more. This is going to energize the heart center. And hold it there for as long, as it feels appropriate for you. And when you release, I want you to do an internal exhale. So releasing that intensified energy, letting it spread from the heart center, the heart chakra, throughout the body, as if it's just like the release of breath, filling the whole body up. And we're going to keep doing that over and over again. Just inhaling deeply into the heart center, holding the breath. Releasing it inside the body. So we're just gonna just do this for just 2 minutes together before we move into our main mantra. Inhaling, holding, releasing, going at your own pace. And if you're not working with the breath, just imagine absorbing this energy of healing of Medicine Buddha into the body. So keep working with the breath. We have about maybe a little bit, around a minute left. If you feel lightheaded or uneasy, just coming back to natural breath, shifting your attention to the seat, noticing the weight of the body, anything, resting your attention on anything that feels neutral and heavy and grounded and solid, stable. Is how we begin to stabilize. Just a little while longer here. So again, filling the physical body up with this energy, and holding the breath actually begins to energize the subtle energy bodies. So a couple of things are happening with this breath. So as we move into the main mantra, Tea Talon Baconze, Maha Baconze, Ratu Sumon Gati Soha, we will encourage you to continue just absorbing the energy. So I just want us for this first part of the mantra um, to be held, to be cared for. Um, Allowing the energy that we're awakening to kind of move to where it needs to move to. Particularly just in this first part of the mantra, just keeping it kind of in the body. Where is this energy? Where is the healing needed in the body? Right? And you can continue to do the breath part of the practice and chant the mantra. So every time you take a breath with a mantra, just imagine inhaling into the heart center, right? And as you're chanting the mantra, releasing breath, you're just imagining the breath as being inhaled or exhaled internally, you know? And letting the energy fill you, ground you, stabilize you, heal you. Right? And also as we practice, as we talked about before practice, and this is optional, everything is optional, by the way, but you can go just a little bit further and just actually start calling in any energies are beings who are connected to healing, to medicine. It can be any energy, you know. For those of you who are practicing with plant medicine, you can call in the consciousness of the medicine that you're working with. As well, for those of you who are working with animal medicine, um, calling in the consciousness of the animal medicines that you're working with. And just, and just in general, just calling in any energy that is here for your benefit and your support. And basically it's just a matter of just saying welcome. Please come. Any energy, any being, any consciousness who is here to heal, to help, to benefit. I invite you here. All energies who are not here to help, to benefit, to heal, you're not welcome. Right? Just be very explicit. If you're here to help and to heal, you're welcome. If you're not here to help, you're not welcomed. Right? That's setting a boundary. And see what we can connect to. As I have often said in our practice, when I'm doing medicine Buddha, I am connecting to a lot of different energies, particularly my indigenous ancestors, the medicine people, medicine people of the land I'm living on now. And just calling them into the space, into your body, into your mind, and just asking for healing. I want you to ask to be healed. Ask for the help that you need. And so we'll begin. O te atang begenze, maha begenze, raza sumunga te sua. Te atang begenze, ma begenze, raza sumunga te sua. Te atang begenze, ma begenze, raza sumunga te sua. Te atang begenze, ma begenze, raza sumunga te sua. Te atang begenze, ma begenze, raza sumunga te sua. Te atang begenze, ma begenze, raza sumunga te sua. Te atang begenze, ma begenze, raza sumunga te sua. Te atang begenze, ma begenze, raza sumunga te sua. Te atang begenze, ma begenze, raza sumunga te sua. Te atang begenze, ma begenze, raza sumunga te sua. Te atang begenze, ma begenze, raza sumunga te sua. Te atang begenze, ma begenze, raza sumunga te sua. Te atang begenze, ma begenze, raza sumunga te sua. Te atang begenze, ma begenze, raza sumunga te sua. Te atang begenze, ma begenze, raza sumunga te sua. Te atang begenze, ma begenze, raza sumunga te sua. Te hata beganze beganze ma beganze rasa sumangate soa 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 hata beganze beganze ma Now we'll turn our attention to our prayer requests as well. And so, as usual, um, just beginning to call into our space, our practice, all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Dharma protectors, all benevolent beings, including deities, spirits, angels, all benevolent ancestors, all the elements, all local protectors, guides, and deities. We summon them into our space and we ask them to hold our prayers and to act on our behalf to bring about the fruition of these prayers on our behalf. We begin by offering prayers. My nephew Benjamin, who was born yesterday and is struggling, and prayers for the safety of my sister Annie and my other sister Stephanie, who broke her leg. We're offering prayers for Ty's grandmother's recovery process, that she does not feel alone. Prayers for my dad and letting go of the masks he hides behind and asks for help. We're offering prayers for Hala Bailey, for Tom Kana, Kelly Cross, Khalid, and Alexa, and Patricia Dalish. Offering prayers for Tessa for relief from heavy stress, and for Tessa's partner, Blizzard, who needs healing with possible cancer of the hip. Offering prayers for Daniela as she recovers from surgery, from psychological violence, from the people who were meant to heal her. Offering prayers for my mom, undergoing surgery herself tomorrow. And offering prayers for the earth, for liberation of all beings in every realm. Prayers for Anil, for Jayanti and Hadi. Prayers for all going through difficult experiences, illness, and harm. Prayers for peace, reparations, reconciliation, and transformation. Prayers for me to have the courage to level up and be fearless as I feel called to. Offering prayers for healing for my brothers and sisters struggling with mental illness and addiction. Offering prayers for people suffering emotional and or physical violence. Prayers for animals in need of love and care. Offering prayers for my friend Kimberly, who lost their mother last week, and prayers for Kimberly's mother, Stephanie, as she transitions through the bardo. Offering prayers for my cousin who recently lost her father. Praying for the pacification of all suffering in every realm. Prayers for self-forgiveness and self-compassion. I'm sending prayer requests for everything, everywhere at once. praying that the prayer warrior energy of the female ancestors will create the best possible healing energy for my knee surgery, on Thursday, and for steady and robust recovery. Offering prayer requests for Jack, who is mourning his brother Neil. Offering prayer requests for my healing work and for all. Offering prayers for my 99-year-old grandma, whose husband of 76 years, also 99 years old, just passed, and for my grandpa in his transition. Offering prayers for Reverend Rachel, admitted to the hospital with shortness of breath and negative for COVID. Offering prayers for everyone in the war in the Ukraine and all other war-torn refugee populations around the world. I want to offer a prayer for Win Bruce, that he has a passage into the Bardo with no obstacles, and that his offering to the world is heard and understood, and that it inspires and motivates more of us into the work of healing the planet. And continue to pray for to offer all the prayers that are unspoken, those prayers that have not been articulated, but needs and desires and longings that lay heavy in our hearts. I offer those on all of our behalfs. I offer prayers for all of those present and practice in this moment with us, not just in this session, but everyone in all the realms and all the worlds who are in this moment, practicing for the well-being and benefit of all beings, that we all are healed as we pray and practice to heal others. And I continue to pray for the deepest well-being, happiness, and joy of all beings, for the eradication or the disruption of all systems of violence, for complete healing of our earth and planet, for all of us to achieve awakening as quickly as possible, that we all may transcend suffering into our innate Buddhahood. May we have everything that we need as we continue this journey, and may we continue the labor of awakening together. And so as we move back into our mantra practice, you can, in the practice, just allow the energy that we've been cultivating and building to really radiate into the prayers that we've offered, into the lives of those we've been praying for. And it's just naturally radiate this energy into the world right now, to the earth, to people, to communities, and to the formless realm as well. Calling in all your help, all of your healing energies and guides to allow you to become an agent of healing for all beings. We offer these prayers to all the beings that we've asked to gather, and we again ask all the Buddhas and deities and so forth to work on our behalf to bring about what we so deeply need for ourselves and for others. And we pray that it may simply be so. And with that, as we prepare for the last part of our mantra practice, that we also practice just offering everything into the consciousness of Medicine Buddha, into the field of love and care that's been radiating around us, letting it go, offering emptiness back to emptiness, offering everything back to the Mother, offering everything to the feet of the deity, letting go and resting within this experience of deep care and healing as well. So we begin again. O te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Te a taung begenze, begenze ma begenze, rasa sumunga te suwa. Deata, Beganze, Beganze, Ma Beganze, Lazuma Gadizua, Deata, Beganze, Beganze, Ma Beganze, Lazuma Gadizua, Deata, Beganze, Beganze, Ma Beganze, Lazuma Gadizua, Deata, Beganze, Beganze, Ma Beganze, Lazuma Gadizua. Teata, beganze, 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 alzumagazoa. 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 Teata, beganze, 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 lazumagazoa. 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 And so, just gently kind of letting go of any like efforting in terms of visualizations and sending energy anywhere. And allow your attention to come to the seat, beginning to notice the weight of your body, making contact with the seat, and allowing that sensation to be an anchor that really grounds you back into the moment, into this timeline. So, return your attention to all the benefactors that we've invited into our space. I just invite you to offer them gratitude for their arising in the space. inviting them to return back to where they came from, to join us. Now returning some movement to the body, beginning to awaken the body again through some simple movements. We're going to turn our attention to our closing prayer. Next week, I will hopefully have it together to offer a closing mantra that I think you will really like the energy of. I've been practicing with really closely for about a year. So we'll do that next week. I just didn't have time to pull everything together to offer it to you. But we're gonna try to start closing out the mantra, the main Medicine Buddha mantra, with this another really powerful healing mantra um, from the lineage that I'm also studying with right now. So anyhow, we're going to recite this prayer from Shantideva, the great Indian scholar, practitioner, 3 times together, and then I'll come back to the questions. Okay. And again, may I be a protector for those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine. May I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures. And until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach into the ends of space. May I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures. And until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for all the realms of varied beings that reach into the ends of space. Finally, may I be a protector to those without protection, a leader for those who journey, and a boat, a bridge, a passage for those desiring the further shore. May the pain of every living creature be completely cleared away. May I be the doctor and the medicine, and may I be the nurse for all sick beings in the world until everyone is healed. Just like space and the great elements such as earth, may I always support the life of all the boundless creatures. And until they pass away from pain, may I also be the source of life for the realms of beings, of varied beings that reach into the ends of space. Okay. All right, great. Thank you everyone for your practice. I'm just going to take a look at the 2 questions here. Um, um, so I'll start with the second question from Jane. If one senses that someone, something extremely destructive is trying to break into one's homecoming circle, do you think it's effective to ask a supreme healer or the circle itself to make it go away? Yes. Absolutely. If you feel, um, just if you feel unsafe, really, that's the thing. If you feel unsafe, then really just ask your circle or another great energy to come, and uh, to to get it out of there. Um, Sometimes I know sometimes um, there are very strong, powerful energies that we summon into the space, and that can feel really unsettling too, particularly if we're not trained to hold those energies or to be in relationship to those energies. And even then, that's also like if you feel out of control, then I think it's really empowering. It's really important to set boundaries and limits with that. Um, so yeah, yeah. So use your circle, ask for what you need. And so Shelley, how do you feel we should work with the climate crisis? I don't want to do a spiritual bypass at the same time, trying not to get completely overwhelmed as I educate myself on what's going on. My background tendency in the past has to be fairly passive. Um, yes. We can only do what we can do. This is a collective process. This is a collective experience, and the collective isn't really motivated right now. There's something I've been thinking about actually quite often, but particularly today. That this is such a um, I want to say unique time, but it's just such um, interesting isn't a strong enough word. We just have this situation where everything is happening at once. As the movie Everything All Together, or I always keep forgetting the name of the movie. Everything at once, all together. That's pretty much what's happening. Everything's happening at once, and there's so many things that are going on, and I keep seeing, particularly on social media, like people are just like, why don't we care about this? Why don't we care about climate? Why don't we care about racial justice? Why don't we care about the war? Why don't we care about the Amazon? Why don't we care about, you know, trafficking? I mean, just the list. Why don't we care about, this like organized effort to disrupt democracy? Not just in this country, many countries. Like, why don't people care? Why aren't we, and really what's missing right now for all of us is a trauma informed approach to social change. And I'm not saying, when I say trauma informed, I'm not saying being sensitive to trauma and triggering people. But when I say trauma informed in this sense, it means that like we have to realize that people are pretty filled with a lot. We are a traumatized world. I'll just speak for America. I want to get really specific. In America, in this country, we're a traumatized country, where most of the collective are experiencing disassociation. And it's hard to create change when there's so much disassociation in a traumatized culture. Um, and this is why, for me, it has been so important to come back to the work of healing as my form of abolition and activism, right? Like healing is the liberation that we have to focus on right now. We can't create change if you can't even touch the body. If you're like a mile away from the body, there's nothing. It's just like we won't see the change we need to see, and that's a long, tough road. But it's not impossible. And um, I think that I think that eventually, sooner than later, really, there's going to be some type of like something that's going to happen. Like no one's really sure, but a lot of people feel like it's going to feel like if you've ever been to a chiropractor and you've had an adjustment, it's going to feel like we're going to get really rapidly adjusted real quick. If you had adjustments, it's like a shock. Like it's like a shock where like something like something gets snapped back into place or realigned, and like it's the initial shock. And you're like, what the fuck was that? My like body just break in half, or so you feel that, and then often there's that kind of like release, that sensation. It's like, oh, okay, there's something aligning now, something falling into place. Like I can feel something now, and that's what's going to happen. And it's going to be kind of a drastic shift in the culture. Um, I think that part of it, I don't know. I don't want to just say random stuff that I'm not sure about, but it feels like something. A lot of people have theories, but every day it feels a little different. So, but something's going to happen. Um, we're going to get to the other side of this sooner than later. Like there's something that's going to turn around really quickly in the coming years. This isn't over yet. Like something's going to happen, and we're going to start like seeing something new happening. I already see something new happening personally. I see a lot of light dawning. You know, um, so a little bit of hope. Um, so I think what's really important for all of us is to really study trauma, really collective trauma, personal trauma, the different manifestations of trauma in general. Um, that's the lens that I use to really understand what's happening. And studying trauma is actually going to help you understand how to take care of yourself. And if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of the collective, right? So I can't do the work that I do if I don't really invest in caring for myself, and taking care of myself. Um, so, in terms of we're going back to climate crisis, right? Yeah, we can um, continue to educate ourselves. We continue to get involved in whatever organizing that's available. When we continue to make personal choices in our lives that help us reduce. And of course, my part in this, in theory, is that we have to connect to the consciousness of the earth, which is often what we do. Um, you know, we have to really like reconnect to the living consciousness of the earth to begin to see the earth as a living being as well. Because we just don't, because of, again, speaking for American culture, North American culture, and South American culture. So the North and South American culture, like indigenous relationships to the land, of course, have been completely decimated, right? And so that link has been broken because of colonization and genocide and slavery and capitalism and so forth. Um, it means that our work has to be returning back to connecting to the land. And that connection will actually show us how to live in relationship to the land. Um, so there's lots of trauma informed work happening now, and a lot of climate crisis drama happening. But also, there are things that just we won't be able to stop. Like it's just, um, There's just things that just won't. But I think something will again happen when it needs to happen, and we won't. It's not going to be the apocalypse that we were all raised with, like the images of fire, and like it's not going to be that, But it's going to be a shift. It's going to be a change. There's going to be some discomfort, but it's just realigning us so we can start building the kind of future. This is a different age. We've shifted into a different age or different energies. There are old energies awakening, coming back into the world. There are old energies returning back from other worlds, coming back into this world. There's a lot. I said this before. I don't want to get so out there, but the SOS signal has been sent out into the universe centuries and centuries and centuries ago, like thousands of years ago. The signal has already been sent out into the universe. So there have been a lot of beings coming. I would say in the past 1,000 years, 500-600 years. Don't ask me how I got to that number. It's been really intense, really intense help being offered to the world, and it's culminating. We're reaching a watershed moment as well. So anyway, anywho, so thank you, everyone. I will again see you all next Monday, if not before. All right. Yep. Okay. Cool, everyone. Be well, and hopefully next week we'll start this new mantra. Okay. All right. Thank you.